Hey people, I am John of Video Games in the World. So, how Outrage Warriors poison everything, and I do mean everything. Since this culture war began in the early days of Gamergate, this has been a crazy trend to hate on everything without giving it a try, and now it has gone worse. Even Comicsgate made it worse when there were some people saying how diversity is killing comics. Let me tell you something, man. Comics in certain way promoted diversity. Like X-Men, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. Hell, lots of comic creators promoted diversity, like Stan Lee. May he rest in peace. Okay, so this video explains how Outrage Warriors seem to poison criticism of various forms of media, mostly geek media, when they see something that makes them cry like little babies because their feelings were hurt, and decide to deem those things as either a hidden agenda or problematic. So as you can see, there are two types of Outrage Warriors. There's Outrage Warriors that cry problematic, and there's Outrage Warriors that cry wokeness and SJW propaganda. The worst part about it is that review bombing has become commonplace these days. And what is review bombing? Review bombing is when a group or faction organizes to create and post negative reviews in order to reduce sales and popularity. It mostly happens in pop culture, mainly in geek nerd media. And it also happens in video games and comics, and even literature itself, with a book banning and all. In my honest opinion, I think review bombing is very, very childish, because some people think that the upcoming new movie, comic book, video game, and TV show, or older ones, have something that bothers them so much that they think it's some type of hidden agenda, or in the case of old movies, comics, video games, and TV shows, they deem it problematic. First things first, people see the trailer of a movie, TV show, video game, or comic book. Some people will have logical explanations of why they are going to give this movie, TV show, or video game a chance if it looks like a hit. Or give a logical explanation as well on how they will not if it looks like it will totally suck. Others take things to extremes with negativity and become so toxic to a point that they will point out certain things that bothers them in such forms of entertainment where there are none. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes, judging by the trailer, we can see that it may suck, or maybe the movie or TV show is better than the trailer. Sometimes the trailer looks appealing, but the movie or show were not good even if people give it a try and explain reasonably the valid reasons why it blew. It can happen in video games as well. Others take a more nastier approach, either defending it or condemning it. Both sides try to tell people about this movie, video game, show, or comic that they're supposed to hate it because it's woke or because it's problematic. In the sentence of woke, it's as if it's going to be a movie, comic, or video game feeling that inclusion of women, BIPOC, and LGBTQ is in their face, and that it also hates on whites, heterosexuals, and men. And they say, and others say, don't read this because it's problematic, in the sense that it promotes, they say that it promotes rape culture, or because it promotes toxic masculinity. They're both sickening and arrogant fools trying to claim the moral high ground. When both of these kinds of outrage warriors say such things, I take neither of those fools seriously, because it's poisoning actual criticism with their stupid paranoia. Now, how do the outrage warriors that cry problematic review bomb something? Mostly old movies, which I'm going to tell you. They tend to point out racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and rape culture where there is none. It's movies, video games, shows, and comics that doesn't follow the type of performative wokeness that these people want to push on everything. And the worst part about it is, the artists are either blackmailed into doing so or forced to change their art, not for the sake of their audiences, but because this vocal minority that screamed loud wanted change because their feelings were hurt. Now, they quote most old movies, shows, and other old school satires and sitcoms problematic. When it comes to saying that these forms of entertainment promote rape culture, they talk about stuff like Pepe Le Pew, Revenge of the Nerds, American Pie, Porky's 1 and 2, Fast Times at Richmond High, Can Hardly Wait, etc. Regarding Pepe Le Pew, the script is changed in some episodes and Penelope ends up being the one chasing him. Porky's is about teens trying to get laid, while at the same time trying to get even with a bar owner who humiliated them. American Pie, in the first movie, they want to lose their virginity on prom night. They have so much to learn about women. Jim needs to stop being so awkward. Oz needs to learn sensitivity. Kevin has to repair his relationship with Vicky and prove to her that he is not using her for sex. Sure, there are some things that feel creepy, but that doesn't mean that it promotes rape culture. These people are nothing more than prudes who are bothered by sex, nudity, and crass humor as well. They are sour, bitter people who dislike anything that is fun, humorous, and they think that censorship is the best way to solve social issues. But they don't realize that censorship doesn't make things better, it makes it worse. And censorship is not the best method for solving problems that go much deeper than speech and other issues as well. They feel that they need to force their supposed morality into everything with a purpose to make people as miserable as they are. When it comes to video games, these people being paranoid on how everything is problematic get all riled up on how female characters are designed. For example, women showing a lot of skin, sexist, change it. Voluptuous women, sexist, change it. A man saving a woman, sexist, change it. Games where both men and women are equal targets, sexist, change it. It is also known that when it comes to LGBTQ characters, these people call for more of them. For the record, I do support the inclusion of LGBTQ characters, and in this case of calling for more characters of such demographics, they are right. But when it comes to such inclusion, the ones who cry problematic have double standards. For example, if there's a lesbian character that looks feminine and sexy, they get pissed off saying that it panders to the male gaze. They say that they should design LGBTQ characters to make straight dudes super uncomfortable. They don't even realize they'll not only make straights uncomfortable, but lesbians too. Now, when it comes to review bombing by outrage warriors that cry wokeness and SJW propaganda, this is how it happens. For so many years, since this pointless war began, there have been review bombings not only by those that cry problematic, but also by those who cry woke as well, and now they are the majority. These people are paranoid that everything is anti-white, anti-male, and anti-heterosexual. There are various examples on how those who cry woke take part in review bombing something. In 2017, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus was released and received positive reviews. However, some people didn't like the game because they felt it was nothing more than SJW propaganda. They also called it communist propaganda because the character of Horton is a believer of communism and has communist flags in his room at the Eva's Hammer once he joins the Christ House Circle. What they fail to see is that BJ Blazkowicz having a debate with Horton. Horton made valid points on how war is profitable as the government sent more Americans to fight and die against the Nazi war machine. But in the end, BJ won the argument, and Horton would join the Christ House Circle to fight the Nazis. I also remember in 2017, in the Arrowverse, that they called the Muslim superhero Sari Tomas political. Not to mention in 2017, they went after Doctor Who because the Doctor was a female. Now, I'm not a watcher of Doctor Who, but why should I give a damn if Doctor Who is a female or gay or... Let Doctor Who be Doctor Who, okay? I'm not a Whovie, but let Doctor Who be Doctor Who. That's all. Back to the Arrowverse. They called Crisis on Earth X a political episode. Crisis on Earth X is loosely based on the comic Freedom Fighters by DC Comics, which is a damn good story. And I love that episode, and it reminded me so much of the Justice League cartoon episode, The Savage Time. The difference is that in the Arrowverse, the Nazis of Earth X won World War II. And in The Savage Time, it's an alternate timeline caused by Vandal Savage. The depiction of the Nazis in Crisis on Earth X was very accurate, because remember, the Nazis hated anyone that was not Aryan and labeled them as undesirables: Jews, gypsies, Africans, homosexuals, etc. They also went after The Last Jedi because they felt that the men were portrayed as dumb and the women as superior to men. They even called Leia Mary Poppins and Rey a Mary Sue, which they still do to this day. Now, they forgot that Leia sensed Luke being in danger in Empire Strikes Back after his first fight with Vader. They also forgot in Return of the Jedi that Luke told Leia that within time she will learn to use the Force as he did should something happen to him. As for Rey, she survived on her own on a desert planet her entire life. The worst part about The Last Jedi attack was the death threats against Kelly Marie Tran over her character, Rose Tico. I didn't hate The Last Jedi, I just thought it was mediocre over the following. Finn would have been awesome as the main protagonist. The casino subplot, I didn't like that. Snoke's death felt rushed and predictable. Phasma deserved a more badass send-off. Admiral Akbar should have been sent off the way Holdo was. And Luke seemed whiny saying, "I came here to die." And Rose should have been written better, but I like how failure is a teacher, as Yoda said in The Last Jedi. Both sides of Outrage Warriors will verbally harass anyone that either liked or hated The Last Jedi, and that sucks. Now, if you're watching this video and if you like The Last Jedi, okay. If you didn't like The Last Jedi, okay. But don't be such an asshole about it. Okay. They review bombed the Netflix TV series She-Ra and the Princesses of Power because She-Ra didn't look too feminine. Hello? She's a teenager in this one. They would get pissed off on making She-Ra a lesbian, and most characters being queer would bother them as well. Of course, to those who cry woke, BIPOC characters, LGBTQ characters, and female leads are political. Two genders, male and political. Skin colors, white, political. Sexual orientations, straight and political. Jeez, can't you guys stop the madness? The ones who cry woke would also become outraged when it comes to BIPOC characters being included, LGBTQ characters being included because they think it's political. And also because it's all part of a hidden agenda in the sense that it's anti-male, anti-white, and anti-hetero, as said. For example, the Amazon original series, The Boys, based on the controversial comic book of the same name, and a damn good show, by the way. These outraged warriors that cry woke, they get pissed because of male nudity and homosexuality. And speaking of which, I wonder what they think of the Starz original series Spartacus, which both men and women showed full frontal nudity and sex scenes as well. They'll probably get pissed about it too, but who knows, right? I mean, gay characters in Spartacus like Barca, Pietros, Agron, Nasir, you know. Not too long ago, Young Justice Phantoms was criticized for LGBT inclusion by these people. They think that LGBT is too in their face, like Halo Violet being non-binary, Aqualad being bisexual and having a boyfriend, and Lagoon Boy being bisexual in a polyamorous marriage with a wife and husband. On Twitter, someone asked Greg Weisman and Brandon Vietti to strip Young Justice of LGBT content. He said that it pollutes the show and alienates some viewers unnecessarily, and great cartoons did fine without that content for decades. So according to that guy, Young Justice LGBT characters are ruining Young Justice? Jesus Christ. I am a heterosexual, cisgendered Dominican male, and these characters don't bother me not one bit. If it bothers you so much, then don't watch. People are so fucking judgmental. But Greg Weisman put him in his place right there. I feel for you, Mr. Weisman. When I met my Black Characters in Video Games and Black Game Developers episode, someone accused me of being anti-white when my episode was all the contrary. I was calling for more black characters and black game developers to do something really cool in that episode, and praising the social, political, scientific, and artistic achievements of African Americans in our country's history. They show outrage when it comes to gender swapping and race swapping. Now, I admit I do not like gender and race swapping of characters because I believe that brand new ones need to be created rather than shoehorning, because it's lazy to race and gender swap originally established characters. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. But let it be known that I recognize that whitewashing is a bad thing as well, like in that 1950s Ben-Hur movie, in which Genghis Khan was whitewashed, because in the 1950s, diverse casting was taboo. In comics, the bisexual Superman was met with mass dislikes when it was not Clark Kent at all. It was the son of Clark Kent. A new story and a brand new character. The reason they call so many comics like Star Wars: The High Republic, Kick-Ass: The New Girl, and various others SJW propaganda is because artists and writers said something negative about white people, men, and straights. The funny thing is, I didn't see any SJWism in these stories. I also remember the review bombing of Captain Marvel, and this is where they got so obsessed with bashing Brie Larson. In my honest opinion, Captain Marvel, I give it a 7 out of 10, so it was average at best in a way. And I prefer Black Widow than Captain Marvel. So, as you know, the quartering, no BS, Clownfish TV, and Geeks and Gamers' obsession with Brie Larson became very tiresome. These excessive videos about her were nothing more than drama and cash grab. Not to forget, they would go so far out of their way attacking the journalist who would write something like this: "This movie, show, video game, comic was pretty awesome, but a bit more representation can make it better." That's when they lose their minds, thinking that the journalist hated that movie, show, or comic when he, she, or they did not, assuming that they hated it because there was not enough BIPOC or LGBTQ or women. Another example of review bombing is The Last of Us Part 2. Why did they review bomb the game? Because Ellie is gay, killing off Joel, playing as Joel's killer Abby, a trans character called Lev, and Neil Druckmann having Anita Sarkeesian as a consultant. What was truly disgusting of the review bombing is sending death threats at Jocelyn Mettler, Colleen Foch, and going so far in threatening to kill Laura Bailey, her husband, and her son. These people are the lowest of the low for doing that. They would also review bomb Masters of the Universe Revelation. Now, I did like the artwork, some battle scenes, but the story felt predictable, and I didn't like how Teela reacted negatively to Prince Adam being He-Man. Why did they review bomb Masters of the Universe Revelations? Because they felt Kevin Smith will pull a Rian Johnson by making He-Man a side character and centering it on Teela. They even felt that Teela was going to be a lesbian with a girlfriend, and it turned out it didn't happen that way. And by the way, Revelation is going to have a sequel titled Revolution. Let's see how it turns out. Recent review bombings also include Hawkeye, Obi-Wan Kenobi, because they think it's breaking lore, Moses Ingram is diversity hire, and Kate Bishop is replacing Clint Barton when that is not the case. Recently, they went after the new Disney Plus show called Ms. Marvel, which is about Kamala Khan. I saw this new show and I like it. And to those who cried that this show is SJW propaganda and woke, you're not happy that I and so many others like Ms. Marvel? Get the hell over it and grow the fuck up. Dios mío. To those who review bomb these shows, pointing out woke and its problematic SJW propaganda, I ask you one question. If your YouTube channel is based on hating anyone that disagrees with you, based on hating anything you did political, woke, or problematic, what the hell are you doing with your lives? Because if Outrage Wars have cried so much bullshit, this is why we can barely have fun or have nice things anymore. So as you can see, Outrage Warriors posting criticism and everything, and I do mean everything. When I made my video of what was X-Men all about, what I said about what comics are all about is from a post I saw on Facebook a couple of years ago that I really liked. Comics had always taken a political standing. Hell, Even lots of video games have positive messages that can benefit us all. I don't know what you may say or think about this, since I have this knack of poking a hornet's nest, or should I say being blunt about what I say. I leave the comments up to you. So as you can see, whenever someone talks about an old show, movie, TV show, or comic book, or video game, and calls it problematic, or calls it, "ooh, rape culture," I will not take that person very seriously. And fuck that person for promoting censorship. And I will say the same thing to people who cry woke and SJW propaganda. I will not take your reaction very seriously. Because if both the outrage warriors that say problematic and the ones that cry woke and SJW propaganda, this is why we cannot have fun, and this is why we cannot have nice things. So like I said, I don't know what you may think or say about this. I leave this up to you. I'm John of Video Games and the World. Have a good one. Later.